How's it going, everyone? I'm Looney. I'm having a great evening, and I hope you're having a great evening too. On this Mother's Day and Banmas Eve, everyone, it is that time. I just go ahead, say it right up top. No changes across the board. That's what I'm feeling. I don't think there's much that's going to happen, but why do I think that? Well, let's see. Let us kind of look over. Let's start with standard here. Let's look here. As you can see, there's been an evolution. We start at 30 as we go backwards. We can see Esper, mid-range, Domain, Azurius Control, Boros Convoke, and Temur Landfall combo. All in the top 5 with Mono Red, 4-color legends, Golgari mid-range, Dimir mid-range, and Dimir Control. Kind of creeping up behind there. We go on to 14 days. We've seen a little bit more evolution. Azurius Control is the usurped Esper mid-range. Domain still hanging in there. Has a pretty good matchup against Esper mid-range. I've been on the receiving end of that. That's very true. Landfall combo, still pretty good. 4-color wedges, still good. Mono red aggro creeped up quite a bit, as have Dimir Control and Golgari mid-range. Boros Convoke has kind of fallen off. And let's go ahead and look at the last 7. Same thing. We see Azurius Control and Landfall combo kind of have completely displaced Esper midrange. Dimir Control climbed way up there, and Golgari midrange looking to take Esper's spot as premier midrange deck. Domain falling way off. 4-color wedges of Boros Convoke still kind of hanging in there, as is Mono Red. And that's kind of my thing. Like, we're looking at top 10 decks. Yeah, Azurius Control has taken 70% of the meta. That's not that bad for a standard deck, though. Landfall combo nipping right on its heels. And then we've got several other decks. And, I think there's still a lot of power in Esper midrange. It can really just come back and take it all back if there is a weakness to exploit, or one of these two gets displayed. So I feel like it's got a pretty good Landfall combo matchup. But let's hop on over to Pioneer. Another one. This is the one of the three I focus on mainly on my channel are Pioneer, to a lesser extent. Modern is the primary focus, followed by Legacy. Because of that, these are the 3 I'm looking at the most. And in this one, again, if you'll notice, it's fairly diverse top 10. With this kind of thing, like these lower decks can creep up and actually take them on. If you'll notice, like here's 30 days out, 14 days, and down to 7. And we actually do see a little bit of displacement here in this last little bit, with Niv to Light finally unseating Vampires and Phoenix. Kind of makes me think, again, we're not going to see any action taken, but I could definitely see Sorin Imperious Bloodlord, going. Just being able to cheat out this fella right here, a little unfair, Vein Ripper. While it doesn't do a lot, and Pick Your Poison is a card that is lethal in Pioneer, as is Sholdred's Edict. Liliana the Veil. There's a lot of good cards to answer it. And I think it is a really fantastic card, but I don't think it's like the be-all and end-all. So it can be answered. It's kind of unfun, because if you don't have that answer, you just die. Like, if you don't answer it, they're going to plus their sword on it. They're going to cause a 14-point life swing. And yeah, they gain, like, you take 7 damage, they gain 7. And if the sword lives another turn, they plus on it again. Well, now they're hitting you for 8 and gaining 8. That is not great. And also, like, don't forget, if you're low, they can just fire up a Mutavault, use Sorin's other +1 to helix you. That also triggers a Vein Ripper, because Vein Ripper sees Mutavault die. So that's an instantaneous, you lose 2, they gain 2, and then they deal 3, gain 3. That's 5. And if you're low, hit with Vein Ripper, and that's good night. It might be a little too good for Pio, I guess is what I'm saying. But I also think it's kind of checked. The problem is it feels like it's dual decks Phoenix versus Vampires in the format. Though I have not I've not seen enough of the Niv Mizzet deck. I'm really hoping that can unseat it, because again, calling no changes. Treasure Cruise, is really what lets Phoenix refuel. Like, you do all these cantrip things to try and get your Phoenixes out of the yard onto the battlefield to swing in. And a lot of times you run yourself very, very low on cards, so you do need this 1 mana draw 3 sorcery to really refuel you. Because you're going to have the 7 cards in the yard, realistically. You might have a couple Phoenixes you don't want to exile, so you wind up paying 2 or 3 for this effect. But that's honestly still fine. I'd like to point out Banned in Legacy, Banned in Modern, Restricted, and Vintage. Banned in Pauper, which doesn't have really fetch lands. So, but the problem is without expressive iteration, Phoenix doesn't have a way to refuel. So if you take this, you take away their absolute best way to refuel their hand, maybe expressive come off. We'll talk about that later on in it, but we'll go ahead and let's hop on over to my favorite format, Modern. Here we have 30 days out. You can see there is a lot of scam. If you look at any of these, top 8, you'll see at least scam creeping around in a 1 or 2 of. I might have to check that out later. Just a scam, a deck that gets it done. And we've also got Domain Zoo nipping right on its heels. Again, kind of the same thing. You'll usually see it working around. Yogg, a little bit less than those. Like, Yogg can, like a good Grief or like a Wayline Draco, real hard for Yogg to come back to. Also, it's real hard for Yogg to kill gigantic creatures because it does take away from its life total. And this is a 4 Tribal Flames deck, so it can just dome Yogg. Titan Dew is Titan Dew, doing a lot of unfair things just to cheat out a bunch of unfair stuff. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it getting the 1 ring is probably chief sin of the 1 ring. I've kind of softened on it across other things. Like, Tron has the 1 ring, but Tron hasn't been doing anything. And if we go, let's do the same thing. Let's go on to 14 days. You can see kind of the same. Yogg just places Domain here for a bit. Titan living in, creeping back up. Creativity dropping off. Prowess, as you can see, starting its climb. 4 color kind of creeping in. Tron creeping down. As Scam go up, so does Coffer. Same with Yogg. Yogg also kind of weak to Coffers. And then we get to the last 7 days, more of the same. Omnath creeping up pretty good against Scam, so I like that. Gruul aggro, which is just Gruul Prowess with Tarmogoyf, kind of creeping up behind Temur Prowess. I find this version is pretty much easier to play. And realistically, just dropping a big Tarmogoyf can be enough. Like, you get way enough in the game, they don't have an answer to it, and you just beat down. And other than that, this is kind of static. Yogg seems to have displaced Zoo. I haven't looked at enough of the results this weekend. My guess is that this is going to be the change. Like, I think, I feel like Yogg will stay the same. Zoo might creep up. You know, it might surprise me. I don't look for any change. Maybe Living will drop off a little bit. You know, Jund Creativity still doing its thing. Esper Control, which is just blue-white control, you know, creeping back up. We will have to see it. But as you can see, like, there is, if we look at more decks, and because Goldfish does this obnoxiously, we go up to the past 7 days, we could see that there is pretty good diversity. Like, if we look at, let's see, I mean, even in the top 20, like, look at all these different decks. That's kind of why I don't think anything will happen. If something were going to go in Modern, it would right now probably be Grief or Wayline of the Guild Pact. I feel Grief is just a miserable card. Like, it is, like, out of Scam, it's a double Thoughtseize that leaves a huge body. It makes sure that Living In can just go off. It can even do, like, a small Living In just to wipe your board and take some more stuff from your hand. Just not a very fun card to play with or against, in my personal opinion. Again, though, with MH3 on the horizon, I don't really see a need to take much action against it. And, well, let's hop on over to Legacy, another format I do know a little bit about. Reanimator, Rescamator, whatever you want to call it, has been staying up there thanks to the power of Grief and Bowmasters. But if you look at it, 14 days, Goblin's actually creeped up for a bit. You know, we do have some churn in it. Delver and Reanimator are kind of top dogs, not like something you wouldn't expect. So Wesley Depp's coming back up, which is good. You do like to see these kind of different strategies. Grixis tempo falling off, and the prisy nature of goblins kind of helping it stay in there. Again, like, I know people keep saying they want Bowmasters gone from the format. I think we really need to punish people for just brainstorming and cantripping constantly. And Bowmasters does that beautifully, I must say. So, you know, I think it's pretty good to have in the format. I'm just going to say it. Again, though, if I was going to say something would go, it'd be Grief. But as of right now, like, I think Legacy is in a really good spot. I would argue than it having the reserve width, it's probably in as good a spot as Standard, if not better. You know, it's a toss-up between which one of them is doing the best. I think both Standard and Legacy are doing really well at the end of the day. I don't know enough about Pauper and Vintage to really offer an opinion. They seem fine, from what I've heard. Folks who do play them a lot more than what I do say that they're good, so sure. I mean, I don't think that they are, you know, don't seem to be suffering near as much as the others, so. And even then, Standard, definitely, as I said, doing well. I think Pioneer is suffering the most, and I think it is also fine. I think it is doing really well. I don't really like this Quintorius combo. Feels a little nonsense, but then again, if you put pressure on them, you disrupt them early, you slam a Damping Sphere, I think, again, that's kind of lights out for it. And also, it's only like 2.8% of the tournament meta. Like, how often are you going to run into it? One of those kind of ruins your day when it does, if you're like me. But then again, like, sometimes you have that disruption, you run over top of them, and that's that. So, you know, I think that one... Pioneer, worst of the big formats that I care about, but kind of still fine. And Modern, I mean, we see churn. We have, like, you can go all the way down to the top 20 and you're still looking at super good, super viable decks. You know, like, yeah, Jund doesn't touch Scam, but Jund has an excellent Scam matchup, you know. Same with Zoo. Weak to Yogg, weak to Titan. Living In is just kind of a nonsense deck. You know, if it gets there, it gets there. It is what it is. Omnath, 50-50. Prowess, I think it's slightly favored Jund, but it's good. You know, it's a fun mat. It's fun to play, even if you lose, so I like that. And just, like, even just like that one example, Modern could do a lot better, I feel like. I feel like a world without Grief and Leyline is a good world, but at the same time, like, we are going to be getting a lot of powerful cards in MH3. So I guess in summation, we're looking at no changes tomorrow. I could actually see unbanned as Standard. We could see Fable of the Mirror Breaker or Reckoner Bankbuster coming off. Kind of doubt it, but it's possible. Pioneer, I'm going to go with no changes. I could see Sorin or Cruz going. Modern, again, no changes. Could see Grief, could see Leyline going. And Legacy, again, no changes. You could argue Grief. I don't buy that. I think Grief is fine. So, yeah, gonna call it. Tomorrow's B&R, no changes. That is my thing. Let me know how I did in the comments. I am very interested. And let me know what you all would like to see addressed in these. Again, and also, more importantly, what would you like to see unbanned? That's a much better topic. Again, I'm not seeing that happen. We have MH3. They have kind of eluded in past B&R. It looks like August will be our window for that. Kind of the little dead time we get between product releases these days. I think it's a great time. Metas have kind of settled. That's the time to do it. But again, please let me know. Feel free to like and subscribe as well. And I will catch you all in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.